Uh, Dude, he wants an oil crisis. He must want an oil crisis. Are you fucking crazy? Are you fucking insane? Really? I'm sorry. Let me read this. I'm sorry. This took me aback. This took. What is this? He can't keep a consistent strategy to save his life. What is this tweet? What the fuck? Sorry. Truth. Don't want a dead name. I wonder what would happen if we quote unquote finished off, end quote, what's left of the Iranian terror state and let the countries, I don't know why the capitalized countries there, that use it, we don't, be responsible for the so-called strait. That would get some of our non-responsive allies in gear and fast. President Donald J. Trump. Look, he's gotten offers. He has to understand the situation he started this war in. He did not prepare the American public. He did not brief any of America's allies beforehand. They did not get the time to prepare their publics for war. Many of them don't even agree with the war. And so they live in democracies. If they have had no time to explain to their public why their sailors have to go to the Strait of Hormuz and die for a war that the President of the United States decided he would take unilaterally, not only on the world stage, but in the country. Like Congress wasn't consulted. To assume that because they don't immediately jump on the war, that many of them can't for just blatant democratic political reasons, that, oh my gosh, maybe we can threaten them by saying we'll do nothing. To be clear, what the threat is here is we will bomb Iran, we will destabilize Iran, we will destabilize its oil fields, we will kill the regime, we will make it hard for them to rebuild, then we will abandon that situation. So if they go in the civil war, if it becomes a major hub for even more terrorism, there's 92 million people there, man, what's going to happen? What are the knock-on effects for the rest of the region? So that factor is just left there. And then when you come to the Strait of Hormuz, we're 20%, a fifth of the world's oil, 30% of the world's fertilizer, certain portion of jet fuel. Jet fuel prices just doubled. I know that because I'm looking at not domestic flights, international flights. And my God, every time I hear one of those spokespeople say, don't worry, domestic flight prices haven't gone up so far. Unless you're doing international flights, then you're screwed. Fuck me then. But they didn't prepare them at all for this. And then he's surprised that they're not going to come along on this mission. If he just abandons the Strait of Hormuz, then is he just accepting like a base dollar increase in energy prices and gas not energy prices, and gas prices? Right now, we've already seen nearly $1 increase. If the President of the United States comes out and says, fuck it, you know what, we're not going to do anything and we're going to blow Iran to sky high, you're not only losing the trade in the Strait of Hormuz as a passageway, and you're going to have the Saudis continue to reroute their oil over the ground pipes that can only take like 25%. And they take that fuel and they put it through a pipeline and bring it to the Red Sea. They can do that. Problem is that the Houthis can also escalate the situation in the Red Sea, and that will complicate it more for the Europeans, and that might make them have to take action. But taking action in the Red Sea doesn't necessarily mean you're taking action in the Strait of Hormuz. They would care more about the Red Sea because the Red Sea goes straight to the Mediterranean. So if you're trying to get fuel, you have to go through the Red Sea in order to go to Europe, or go through Africa, which is going to be more expensive for transportation, and it is going to overbear southern African ports. So, there is a scenario where the allies would have more at stake, but that's in the Red Sea, which could be a consequence of escalation. As it stands now, many European states don't think it's worth the risk. Have mines been cleared out from the Strait of Hormuz? Well, our mine clearers are like near Malaysia right now, so I'm going to put a bet on no. We don't even seem to have a solid intelligence assessment on whether there are mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Have we disabled all the missiles? No. Have we disabled all the drones? No. Have we disabled the Iranian Mosquito fleet with their tiny submarines specifically designed to shoot down, well, to sink merchant vessels? No. Have we gotten rid of their skippers? No, and you won't ever be able to. You would just have to be able to counter them for the whole operation. What about the sea drones? And so all these European powers who were given no forewarning and given no time to prepare their population for war is asked to come along with this war of choice, which could, as a result, escalate into a blockade of the Red Sea, which would then more directly affect European energy prices. And what do the Europeans get in response for it? What do they get in return? Well, I know that the Finnish president, Alexander Stubb, he came forward to Donald Trump and he wanted to propose, how about you give more aid to Ukraine and we'll come help you with this war. You help us with our security priority, we'll help you with your security priority, because America is not currently fulfilling its commitments that it made to the Ukrainian state after it was invaded. Whether or not that's going to advance, I put very low hope in it. I think Trump, not only will he not see the practical usefulness of something like that this deep into the operation, I think he's too prideful. The way he reacted every time the Ukrainians offered support, even though they have over 200 Ukrainians in the Middle East right now fighting to shoot down and bring down shaheeds, he's too prideful to accept the fact that he needs help from Ukraine, a state that I think he might view as under himself. I mean, a country where he doesn't even understand why somebody would stay there and live in Ukraine, considering that, you know, it's been bombed and hurt so much.
Israel is expected to expand its ground offensive in southern Lebanon to go after Hezbollah. Have you discussed that with Israeli leaders?
Yeah.
And does the United States support a potential Israeli invasion of Lebanon?
Yeah, no, I did. And I know look, Hezbollah is a problem. It's been a problem for a long time, not just now. And it's a certain area, because I was with the other night a person whose parents live in Lebanon. This is a very substantial person, wealthy person, whose parents live in Lebanon. I said, really? How do you live in Lebanon? Your parents are living? Oh, yeah, they live there. And over the years, they've gotten used to the fact that it's being bombed. But they explained to me that it's really a different section of Lebanon. It's the section where Hezbollah is. And they get used to it, I guess. I don't know. I mean, people live in Ukraine. You would think they wouldn't live in Ukraine, but they live in Ukraine. I don't know that I'd do that, but they live in Ukraine, they live in Lebanon. Hezbollah is a big problem, and they're rapidly being eliminated. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it.
If that doesn't show a clear misunderstanding of what patriotism and love of country, love of an idea and a community and even a place comes from, then I don't know what's a better show of his inability to communicate with that. I mean, if this country was in the state that Ukraine was in, would he stay or would he go? Well, he's been a draft dodger once, of course, for a different war under different circumstances. I'm just going to put forward that I think it would be one again. Just from the tone. Private bone spurs. So what is the offer here? What is the offer here? Is the offer here bomb Iran to the ground after using all of these standoff munition stockpiles that I've been told for the first year, oh, we can't give those to Ukraine. We don't need, oh, it's both too expensive and it is also in such short supply. And then we see our allies use so many PAC-3 interceptors that they use more than Ukraine has used for the entirety of the war in 36 hours of the war beginning. If you're to look at the cost of this bombing campaign, there is a good enough chance that the cost of this bombing campaign, direct costs, not even talking about indirect costs, but the direct cost of this bombing campaign as it drags on could exceed the amount of money that we spent in aid for Ukraine over the period of 3 years in the largest war actively going on in the planet, where there's ground forces taking place, and we got no ground forces taking place. And at least in that case, we were helping build up an ally, have a respectable military industry that has made them basically a fortress in Europe. In this case, I mean, what are we getting on the other end of this? Is the atomic program gone? No. They said it was obliterated before, and that they hadn't pursued anything new since then of significance. That at least was the intelligence assessment before. That's what Tulsi said, what Trump said. Okay, well, did we get rid of the support for the proxies? No, not yet. I mean, we've diminished their ability to finance them, I'm sure, but they're still there. They're still pledging loyalty. Okay, did we get rid of the missiles? No. Did we get rid of the drones? No, but I'm sure we diminished them. I'm sure these are both categories that were diminished. Well, did we get to choose the next leadership like Trump demanded during his unconditional surrender demands? Well, we didn't get unconditional surrender, and the new leader is a hardliner whose father, mother, wife, and son were killed in recent bombardments. So I would say he's probably not a big fan of Captain America. So what exactly would be the plan if we went through with what Trump is saying here? By the way, I need to look at oil futures. I need to look at oil futures right now. I want to see if there's any reaction to this. Because what he's essentially saying with what he's putting here is blow up Iran, do immense damage to their oil and gas industry, immense damage to the regime, leave it in a possibly destabilized state where they might not be able to export fuel. I mean, before the Iranian Revolution, the Iranians were exporting like 6 million barrels a day. After, like by 1981, they were exporting or producing, I think, about 1.5. So instability is not necessarily great for energy production, especially if the thing that is producing the energy is directly blown up. Directly, bam. So you're talking about taking Iranian energy production off the global market, as well as blocking off a major oil passageway for 20% of the world's fuel, which primarily Asian states are going to be reliant on, but still affects American energy prices, as we've seen jet fuel more than double, and we've seen gas prices almost go up a full $1 across the entirety of the United States. So we're talking about a 33% increase in gas prices in under a month. And as time goes on, especially if he actually goes through with pulling the trigger on Carg Island, my God, $1 up in gas prices might be remembered somewhat fondly in the weeks to come after that. They might release more of the American energy reserves. Trump did say that once he becomes president, he was going to refill our strategic petroleum reserves. The only problem is he didn't do that. He didn't do that, and when he released the 172 million barrels of oil that we had in our reserves, that puts us under the 50% mark for what we have left in our reserves. So if we're under 50% for strategic reserves, after he promised he would build up the reserves and didn't, he had over a year to do it. I mean, he built up very little. Could have made it a priority, I'm sure, but he did not. If he was planning this war far out, he might have been smart to do that, but he did not. And so what's that going to mean for energy prices? It's going to mean that the United States doesn't have much wiggle room. And unless he can get the International Energy Agency to release more fuel, which will only buy him a week or so time, a few weeks time, and he's kind of up shit creek unless he wants to see what an empty strategic oil reserve actually looks like after he said he was going to build it up as president. So right now, this type of fuck it, we'll blow everything up and run approach, what would be the objective achieved by the United States there? Chaos? Higher energy prices? I mean, I guess if we continuously come in and mow the lawn, as the Israelis put it, that it would stop them from building capacity for an atomic weapon, but you'll ultimately need cooperation if you want that long term from the authorities on the ground, whoever they may be. But this just throw out there, fuck it. What if we just tuck and run? That's going to be a lot more threatening to Gulf states than it is Europe. Is the intention to threaten the Gulf states? Or is the intention to threaten European states? I don't even know if he knows. Huh. This is interesting. So we need to talk about this. Trump just put out this message. Now, Israel struck a gas field in Iran, South Pars gas field. After that gas field was struck and there was a direct tax on their energy infrastructure, the Iranians responded by launching a ballistic missile, despite how much Trump brings up the degradation of it, at Qatar and hit their energy infrastructure. This is the second time a ballistic missile has hit it. This has sent energy prices starkly up in a very short period. Earlier, I saw it at $95, $96 a barrel. As of 2 hours ago, since this story was kind of first hitting the headlines and such, we saw it go up to $110, which is a height that we haven't reached outside of a very brief spike about a week ago. It seems Trump has responded to this series of events of energy infrastructure being targeted by both trying to de-escalate while threatening escalation. Let me read you his statement. And seemingly pinning the entire situation on Israel, which Israel responded to and said Trump is lying. So, this is kind of already a mess. And that's why I was off screen, trying to figure this out. So this is what Trump said on Truth Social as of 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes ago. Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, so it's trying to justify it. He's selecting his words carefully. This is Trump at his most careful. Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The United States knew nothing. This is going to be important later. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this, or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. Now, I'm sorry to stop this here, but just to give you some basic facts here, the reason why they're going to respond by attacking the gas fields in Qatar is because they're closer, they're easier to hit, and there's less air defense systems protecting them. So all these three things, that means less warning beforehand, it's closer, and less air defense system. They already used a lot of their PAC-3 interceptors after all. More in 36 hours than has been used in Ukraine over 4 years. No more attacks will be made by Israel. This is the only capitalized portion besides his name at the end, of course. So he's trying to emphasize it. No more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, in which instance the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. Now, they keep making these threats about wide-spanning, record-breaking air attacks. The only reason I don't doubt it, since they keep making the claim over and over, is each time they make the claim that it's going to be the biggest day of air attacks, they do deliver on it. Each day, the airstrikes have intensified as they've struggled to find more targets to hit outside of energy infrastructure that could spiral the oil crisis more, which the first impact of an oil crisis, and Trump's skittish. I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications that it will have on the future of Iran. But if Qatar's LNG is attacked again, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Oh, wrong picture. Now, again, prices have already gone up. It's up at about 110 barrels. 110 monkeys in the barrel in response to both the strike on Iran and a strike on Qatar. The markets are reacting, thinking about what would happen if Iranian and Qatari oil infrastructure was heavily targeted and their supply to the world stage was threatened. So this is something that's already felt the effects of. $110 a barrel. Trump sees that and he gets nervous, because that means we're headed towards over $1 increase in American gas prices. In less than a month, in 19 days, we've been able to finagle to a $1 increase in gas prices, roughly 33% increase across the board nationally. After Donald Trump was bragging about during the State of the Union how he had brought gas prices down to low numbers that he was stating that were just frankly not true. He would find the lowest gas station price in the country, use that as if it was the standard, and then move on. And now as prices increase, it's been difficult for the administration to readjust. I don't know if you guys saw what JD Vance was speaking about recently, but JD Vance made a speech, and he's not very good at public speaking generally, but this was a particularly bad one because he decided to go forward and say, well, once this is, all good and over, everything will be great. But also, gas prices right now are the consequence of Donald Trump. He said that the old gas prices were Biden, but now that they're lower, Donald Trump. Problem is, he forgot he said that during the midst of an oil crisis and war with Iran because he was just going off the bullet points from the campaign trail. It's going to be hard for them to adjust if this is the stuff they're saying during an oil crisis.
All this conversation happens where Joe Biden left us in a terrible situation, and the reason why gas prices are where they are today is because of Donald Trump's work to get them lower, because in the Biden administration, they were crazy high. The gas prices we're seeing today are nothing like what we saw at the peak of the Biden administration because the president has set us up for energy dominance. And one of the lessons we all have to take away, frankly, every time we get involved in anything overseas, whether it's in the Middle East or anywhere else, the thing we got to take away from it is energy dominance and energy independence. Rely on our own people, rely on our own energy.
So he cannot message on oil. Neither can Trump, who said he was going to bring the prices down on day one, and they're still bragging about what are now high oil prices. I could not think of a worse thing to do is after oil jumps up $1 in less than 20 days, you go out there and start bragging about the oil prices. I could not think of a worse response. Hey guys, I want to brag about the gas prices, as every day you look at the gas tank, you're like, God damn, it jumped another 5 cents. God damn, it jumped another 7, which does stack over time. So I think that Trump sees the potentiality for spiral after Marco Rubio at the start defined it as if Israel dragged us into the war through the possibility of retaliation due to their actions being so great that we felt that we had to respond, creating what they thought was the imminence requirement for Article 2, defense of the nation. The president has the right to defend the country under an imminent attack. It's hard to move from that messaging to now, oh gosh, well, by the way, they did move from that messaging. It's not that it's hard to move from the messaging. It's hard to move from that methodology. If that was true then, that Israel was heavily influential in getting us into the war, then Israel could also be heavily influential in expanding the war and forcing the United States into an oil crisis it doesn't want, but that the Israelis are willing to bear if it means they deal with their largest geostrategic threat. I mean, to Israel and to Netanyahu, they view this somewhat existentially. And if they view it existentially, why wouldn't they drag the United States into a war if they felt they could and they felt they might have already gotten away with it? So I think this is partially Trump through threatening escalation and trying to distance himself from the Israeli action. He is trying to prevent this derailing into an even bigger oil crisis, where it's not just that the Strait of Hormuz is under threat, but then the Red Sea could be shut down, and then that's another passageway under threat. Iranian ships might get destroyed, destroying Iranian supply. More Emirati oil production could be targeted. The UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. These are all locations they could target, not just with ballistic missiles, but also long-range drones. So I think Trump sees the result at home economically. He remembers that the main thing he was elected on is the economy, and he has a revelation. I don't want Israel to destroy my image. So Trump says basically, hey, man, leave Qatar alone. This was Israel. They did it out of anger, okay? No more attacks will be made by Israel. He says that as if he controls Israeli foreign policy. But Trump is one to speak aspirationally. If he posted on True Social, that's the way it's going to go. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he had no conversation with the Israelis after this strike. And this is the way the Israelis not only learned about Trump's objections, but learned about the fact that they're not going to be doing more strikes like this when the Israelis definitely want to do more strikes like this. If it destabilizes the government of Iran, Israel is on board. Other consequences might be negative or might not be nice, but they view it existentially in a way that Donald Trump doesn't. Donald Trump doesn't want them to have an atomic weapon. Yeah, and he might be willing to do things to achieve that. The Israelis see only one end to this, at least this Israeli government, and that is the end of the Islamic Republic and their replacement with a government that will be accepting to Israel's existence in the region. Now, whether or not a toppling of the government would lead to something like that, it could lead to a government that just hates Israel as much, as it's not like the majority opinion of most Iranian youth is, yay, Israel, we love Israel. But that is the dice that they're rolling. Whereas Trump, he has more immediate concerns with it being an election year, energy prices are up. This is a war that he entered in with no explanation to the American public, and all of the metrics by which he originally said he wanted to judge this war by, choosing the next leadership, unconditional surrender, getting rid of the atomic weapons program that we said was obliterated, but we needed a bomb because of an immediate nuclear threat that they said wasn't being developed at the time, that they said that they had not really pushed it forward. Well, this messaging campaign has enough problems as is, and so he doesn't want $150 a barrel to be added to that messaging campaign. And let me say, I think the Russians very much would like that to be part of the campaign, and is part of the reason why the Russians are helping the Iranians drag this out as long as possible. Now, in response to Trump being in this pickle, him throwing out, hey, the Israelis won't do it again. I promise the Israelis won't do it again. I didn't know anything about it. It was unjustifiable, but if you do it again, we'll go even 10 times harder with force you have never seen. You know, the way Trump talks. Because when Trump's always talking about force you have never seen before, it's hard to know when he's kind of being serious about it being, force that you had never seen before. If he keeps talking about it, then obviously we've seen it before. He keeps pulling the trigger on it. But I don't know how it can always be force we haven't seen before. But this response from Trump led to a different response from the Israelis. Let me read to you what the Israelis have to say to this. So contrary to what Trump said, senior Israeli and U.S. officials, so it's not just Israeli, but also American officials that are saying that what Trump's saying isn't true, said that the United States had prior knowledge of the Israeli strike and even went so far to approve it in an attempt to pressure Iran. After the Iranians retaliated and attacked Qatar's gas fields, Trump is now changing course, reversing his public position, saying, wait a second, I never knew about this. Wait a second, this isn't okay. Wait a second, Israel won't do it again. Wait a second, there'll be consequences if there's more. We've already read reports that the Trump administration did not expect there to be strikes on locations like Qatar when this all happened, that they were not ready for it, and their air defense deployments show that they were not ready for it. We didn't have air defense in Syria until like 6-7 days ago. So like 2 weeks into the operation, you're in Syria in the one American base, your defensive strategy is put your head between your goddamn legs. It's not good. So they respond to that. Then you get the Strait of Hormuz taken over. They don't have an immediate pathway to clear it up. They're trying to find a way to respond to that. He doesn't want this to continue to escalate. He doesn't. He's scared of the economic consequences that the Israelis and the Iranians seem much more willing to deal with the effects of. It's hard to deal with high gas prices as an American president, period. It's even harder if you haven't even properly explained to the American people why you're going to increase gas prices through these types of operations. And so I think, does he want a slow burn and then the Iranians go down to lower the risk of something like this? So this will go on for months, possibly? Would he like a big strike that brings us to an end quicker? Does he want an off-ramp? I think no matter what, though, he's scared to escalate this further. But if boxed in, he might leave himself not many choices. It's fascinating, though, that the Israelis and his own officials are contradicting what he's saying. Whether or not this was he reversed course once he realized they'll continue to bomb Qatar and will go further on attacking their oil fields, or this was always part of the plan and he was always going to deny it, and he was going to essentially use the Israelis as, oh, they're the mad dog on my leash. You better make a deal with me or I'm going to let the Israelis loose again. But that's not what he threatened. He threatened Israelis won't do anything, we'll do something. So that leads me to believe that he might have really not expected retaliation on Gulf energy infrastructure in response for attacks on Iranian energy infrastructure, which if he didn't expect that, then there's a lot of things in this war that he should have expected that he didn't when he launched it unilaterally. Maybe we should have gotten someone besides Tulsi Gabbard to prepare the presidential daily brief.